world where observatories had been established previously, where they could establish or reestablish their latitudinal and longitudinal positions around the world. If you know exactly where you are in the world, think about it. 1,000 years ago, 600 years ago even, that would have been absolute power.
Mm-hmm.
To know where you're going, how long it's going to take, to understand the wind, the stars, the astronomy, the tides, all of those things would have been pure power. And this is where a very important concept, that they were accepted as peaceful men. And through signs and symbols and tokens, they were recognized as being men, initiates, men of science. And they were welcomed into different Aboriginal societies.
But okay, wait a minute there. That's interesting, because that implies that the Native American cultures themselves have some kind of connection when it comes to the ancient knowledge that you're talking about, right?
Absolutely.
Care to elaborate on that?
Well, as I mentioned before, I think there's always a common origin to this knowledge.
Right.
Pieces of this knowledge would have been dispersed prior to the Great Flood, and this is where I believe that there was transatlantic navigation movement. There were groups circumnavigating the world. There was trade not only in physical goods but in knowledge over the centuries, in pre-Christian times and ancient times. And I believe that the initiates, whether they were the high priest, the village elders, the Knights Templars, all of them, they would have recognized men of science.
Well, let's see, if we continue on the trail of the South American peoples and talk about them and the potential then merger with some of the ancient Templars. Let's say that this was ongoing, long before this time. I guess we could tie this back to if we talk about the Norse connection with the Vikings. I guess we could go. Can we go pre-BC here? How far back can we go?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So they went over there, potentially then either as the Vikings or whatever. That's just a name that we give to them today, of course. But they went over there. There are stories about, for instance, one particular guy within the Maya called Itzamnai, I think, who handed down the Mayan calendar, for instance, to the South American people. And to this day, it's kind of fuzzy where the knowledge of this comes from. And of course, this becomes interesting again because this is connected with 2012, which many people see as a kind of the end of the age and all of this. But do you think that there could be some kind of ancient knowledge in regards to cycles of the earth, cycles of renewal and destruction that has been handed down to the Mayas, and today we see that as the Mayan calendar? But could
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
There's a common origin to all of this knowledge.
Right.
And this knowledge was shared. Now, if you want to say that it was shared amongst secret societies or whatever, that's true.
Right.
But it would have been powerful knowledge. This knowledge would have developed over millions of years. And this knowledge was applied for peaceful purposes. And this is where I talk about the next leader that comes forward has to be able to demonstrate, whether it's through his bloodline, through his DNA, that he is able to accept that leadership and to really guide a number of factions, warring factions, towards a peaceful resolution of a number of factions around the world. If we don't do it, we're kaput.
Is this leader going to have his, what should I call it, the ruling headquarters based in Jerusalem or what?
I don't think. Well, that's an interesting question. There's a lot of, and I hate to get into politics right now, but there's a lot of current undercurrents in terms of Jerusalem being the center of the earth, being the real connection to the heavens. I don't believe that there is any one particular point on earth that is closer to so-called heaven than any other. I believe that let's call this leader a Knights Templar. I believe this Knights Templar will be a traveling messenger, very, very much in the mode of our ancient prophets. And that traveling messenger will bring a message of peace and prosperity and of willingness and cooperation. And that's the only way that this earth can be saved. And I don't want to prophesize too much, but I think that all the signs are leading us towards that. And I would be encouraged, I would be hopeful that that would happen. And this is this whole thing. And I think the people around the earth will recognize that leader through, not only through their actions, but it has to be confirmed through their bloodline.
Okay.
This is the question of the DNA, the human genome.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's very interesting. One reason why I brought up also, of course, Jerusalem is because if we look at the book of Revelation and so forth, there is lots of talk about a false leader, a false ruler that's going to set up, he's going to pose, so to speak, as the savior of the earth. But in a matter of fact, this is not true, and this is, as I understand it, is what it says in the Bible. That, with having said that means that a lot of Christians are going to go totally berserk over a thing like you were suggesting here, right?
Yes. And I think you may find the false leader wanting to use the symbolism of Jerusalem as his chair or as his gate to his power. But the point is, and you made the point earlier, do the common people need churches to worship?
No, they don't.
Do they need a place on earth? There are energy points all around the earth that naturally attract people, that they feel closer to the Supreme Being.
Right.
I don't think that the question is where they have to be located. I think it's the message themselves. And I think you'll find that the leader is what he will prophesize is like the Knights Templar. They were negotiators. They were the go-betweens. They will be the ones, and whether it's a Knights Templar, whether it's a representative of some other organization or just an individual, he will be recognized having the ability to bring together all of the factions and to resolve all the conflicts. As to how he demonstrates that he has that ability. And unfortunately, this will challenge the Church, the Vatican, to its very heart. Because right now, the Vatican is saying that the direct connection to God is the Pope and his priest.
Yeah.
And that will challenge it to a degree as to whether the Church will... but the question is, will the Church, and this was brought up in the Da Vinci Code, will the Church be able to challenge whoever is identified as the rightful descendant of Jesus? Their whole basis for their existence. And this will be very interesting to see whether they will embrace that person. Or I have a feeling that they will continually, because what we know of DNA is not finite, they will continually challenge their claim to be the rightful descendant of Christ.
Or they want to be right there at the front line and taking the credit for it all, because one thing that is interesting, again, if we return to that a little bit, is that the Templars being exonerated by the Vatican, meaning that they're interested in a official merger, so to speak, with the two different factions now again, because if something like this would actually reveal itself, like someone within the bloodline, setting up and all this would reveal itself, then everyone would kind of be there on the front line to kind of, not cash in, that's not the right word, but kind of take credit for this and say...
Well, here we come first circle in your original question. Why is everybody lining themselves up?
Yeah.
What they want to be is they want to be able to either lay rightful claim to what's being discovered. They wanted to be able to, if they are able to claim it, to hold it up and say that they are the true guardians and protectors of what's being discovered. Or they want to, as the Vatican has done for the last 2,000 years, buried it.
Mm.
And as you say, if it is a person, they will want to either to eliminate, as they have done so for the last 2,000 years, that family line, that family string, or what they will want to do is set themselves up as the advisors to that leader.
Yeah, exactly.
To the point that they can control it.
Mm.
And business carries on as usual.
We'll jump back way a little bit more from the phone, if you will. And, the question also is here is if you have been in contact with anyone or talked with anyone either within the order or from outside or from even some higher, political, I don't know, you insert whatever you want to in there, but someone has approached you in any way or the friends within your order then, suggesting something like this or hinting about this information, saying that we are looking for this now. I mean, for instance, just the website that you gave to us here, the St. Clair Research website. To me, that's a hint that they're, if not have found someone, they're looking for someone like this, right?
Yes, I've been approached by, let's put it this way, a number of facets around the world. I have to be very careful because of my family and stuff. I have to be very careful of who I talk to.
Mm-hmm.
But I will tell you that about 5 years ago, I received a very mysterious phone call, and I met a very aging gentleman who flew in from the Caribbean. I met him in just a single room at an airport. It was an arranged meeting. And he wanted to understand my research and understand some of my theories and where I was going.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very wary about it because I had the feeling that he was going to tell me to stop the work.
Right.
And maybe even to suggest that it was for mine or my family's health, the benefit to stop the work.
Right.
But he was very encouraging. He referred to himself as sort of the master of the keys.
Okay.
Suggested that I just keep in touch with him, and I do keep in touch with him, and to let him know how am I proceeding. And he's given me a number of little hints in terms of where my research should be going, and they've always turned out to be very accurate.
So is he?
So I think that in some ways there are some people out there that understand this a lot more than you and I do, that are interested in the research that is going on. Obviously don't want it exposed all in one great upheaval, but want it to eventually come out, and that are almost an individual guiding hand.
So is this guy the leader that you're talking about, do you think?
I think he's a leader of something.
Okay.
I think he is, from my mind, there's been inference that my great uncle in the 50s was one of the 3 highest ranking Masons in the world. They're called the 3 Pillars, and I believe that this gentleman that was introduced to me was one of those 3 pillars. Because he seemed to know my great uncle and seemed to know about me, and he probably knew more about me than I knew myself.
Well, that's interesting.
And one thing I've always asked him, I said, look, should I be dealing with this, doing the research? Should I stop writing? Should I stop putting out the information? And he suggested to me, no, be as open and as truthful as you can be.
If he were
and
to...
that whatever try to